Good morning. How is everyone? What a pleasure to see you here. I think I know you, Sheila and Diane, right? I think I know some of you. I think I have seen you on the JCC Lunch and Learns. What a pleasure to have you here. If you would like, it would be lovely if we could see everyone. So whoever can, I know in home office, it's not always possible, but if you can, open your camera so we can see and say hello to each other, that would be beautiful. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. Marion, Sherry, Hima, Heather, Ada, Diane. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your names
It's
properly.
Aida.
Okay, say it again.
Aida, like the opera.
Aida, that's a beautiful opera. I love that opera.
Thank you. Sorry,
Nice
I
to
didn't
meet you.
expect this to be a live, so I'm not really presentable.
It's just for us to see each other.
Here, you get me how I am this morning. That's how it is.
That's beautiful. It's nice to see each other and to get to know somehow, even though we are online. And I don't know if you guys are from the same place, but probably we are from different time zones. I am during my lunchtime. It's midday here in Brazil. And as you have probably realized by now, English is not my first language. So I will make mistakes and possibly I will create new words that is not in English vocabulary, because I think I speak so well that sometimes I even design my own words. If I do that, and if I say something that makes no sense, just please let me know and I will correct myself. The intention will be good behind it. I would love, since we're a small and a nice group where we can talk, I would like to let you know that the cameras can be on. You can open your audio like Aida just did and talk to me and bring insights and questions at any time. It's going to be a pleasure to make this much more a conversation than a presentation itself. And if you can, just in 30 seconds, if you would like to present yourself, say at least from where you're speaking and how did you hear about positive psychology? Who would like to start?
Can I? My name is Hema.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Hema. I just wanted to say that it spells like Hema, but it's Hema. And I'm in Washington, DC, so it's morning 11 o'clock for me. Mm-hmm. And where I heard about positive psychology was, I think, one of your colleagues, Peter Merry. I work with the World Bank, and Peter Merry is working with our team on one of the projects. So that's where I heard about it and I have been following. So happy to be here.
Very happy to have you here. Thank you so much for starting this conversation.
My camera is not on, but I look exactly like my picture.
That's all right. Perfect. And I love the background. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Who would like to present next? Go ahead, please, Heather. You need to, I think you're muted.
So I'm going next because I'm in Washington State in the United States. So I'm on the other side of the continent in where it's 8 o'clock in the morning and I was about to make my second cup of coffee. And like Aida, I'm not presentable. I'm actually still in my pajamas, but I might go go off video while I make my coffee. I think I heard from Peter Merry too in one of the Humanity Rising sessions a few weeks ago, I think, on science and spirituality. And that's how I got here today.
Perfect. Welcome. Nice to have you here. And what a beautiful state to be. I love the Pacific Northwest. So very pleased to have you here. Go ahead, Sheila, please.
Good morning, everybody. So great to be connected. I was running around with my husband's help, trying to get on. So here I am. We made it at the 11th hour, literally 11th hour here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And I'm actually thrilled to see that we have a colleague here from Dauphin, Manitoba, which I know very well because I grew up in Thompson, Manitoba. So this doesn't usually connect in this forum. So I got connected, I think it's 2 years ago in June when I happened to sign up for a course with Dr. Maria. Surwa through a group that I'm involved with, and I was looking for something different, and it was happiness in dark times, and that really attracted me. So I've been connected since that time, and met Henrique at the September session that was virtual last September. So really wanting to take the certificate course, not sure if I can this year, but really love being connected with this group of people and the way of thinking and approaching myself in life, and really wanting to just be more involved, because life keeps happening and it will keep happening. And so really glad to be with you all here this morning. Thank you.
Beautiful. What a beautiful place to be in your mind. This idea of life is happening. So how do I embrace it in a different way or in a more positive way? Perfect. Esther, please.
Oh, hi. I'm right in the middle of the continent of North America, and I'm in Dauphin, Manitoba, Canada. And I think I got an email talking about positive psychology, but I've forgotten. Anyways, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Pleased to have you here. Go ahead, Sherry.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I'm Shari Hyder. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and I'm actually at work right now.
Don't tell anyone.
I found out, I got an email about positive psychology, and I'm in human resources, and I deal with our employees every day. And especially with the pandemic, we're trying to get back into the office from being at home. It's a really, my employees are facing a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. And I thought I wanted to learn more about it. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave at 8:30 because I just got a meeting scheduled, but I'll be with you for the first half hour.
Okay, I'll try to bring all the more important stuff at the beginning. And I am available at any time. I think by Ubiquity, you can find a link where you can talk directly with me if you want. We will have more sessions. There's going to be a session next week with Megan. So there's going to be plenty of time for you for us to get together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane, I think you raised your hand too.
So I'm Diane Sue. I come from Bellingham, Washington, also in the Pacific Northwest, between Seattle and Vancouver, BC is where I am. And I am a psychologist. My background's in educational and school psychology, and I probably learned about positive psychology maybe 20 years ago. I had a chance to take a course from Chris Peterson, who was one of the founders with Marty Seligman at kind of the foundations of positive psychology. And then the book, The Optimistic Child, I definitely kind of that stream was part of my foundational work working with children and families. And so it was just fun to see this course is being offered.
Perfect. What a beautiful class I think that was. I wish I was there with you 20 years ago. Beautiful. Who else would like to present? Yeah, go, Marion. Is that Marion is right?
It is, you're correct, yes. As you can hear, I'm in the UK. I live between London and Winchester, to give you a sort of geographical space, in a small village. I heard about the course through Humanity Rising, and I'm retired, but I'm still learning lots. And I thought, another course. So here I am.
Thank you so much for being here. What a pleasure to be reaching you in the UK too. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead. Aida, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm also retired. I live in Alameda, California, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area in the East Bay. And I wanted to do this because I actually majored in psychology back in the day when there was, at least where I went, there was a choice between Skinnerian rat psychology and Freud. And I also had a horrible time with a school there. It was I was at Wellesley. It was way past my capacity, I think, at the time, though maybe that's not true. It just felt like it. So now that things are kind of falling apart, some of the, and I've done a lot of work. I've got a master's in social work. I worked at the library, a spiritual director. I've done a lot of things, but when things fall apart, some of those old family traumas just come. And so I wanted to see if I could bring, instead of going back into the dark and the illness, to see if there was a way to put some light in there. That's really why I signed up for this. Because I still want to grow, and I don't believe all that old stuff, but it still holds on strong sometimes.
Yes, I understand you, and I hope I can show you a little bit of what positive psychology can make in that regard. So hope you like this session, and we're going to have many more. So you're going to have the opportunity to not just to see what we have to say, but also to actively invite us for a conversation, and we can have a one-on-one conversation at any time too. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you. I hope that seems a little more revealing than usual, but that's what there you have it.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, so let me present myself so you know who is this strange guy from Brazil talking to you. My name is Henrique Bueno. It's a crazy name to be spoken in the English language. I know that. The R makes no sense in the way we pronounce here. So my nickname is Hico. So H-I-C-O, it's easier for everyone. I did live in the United States, in California for 1 year. I did high school there. But my English is not Californian because I did 2 years. I lived 2 years as well as a volunteer in Australia. So I have that mixed English. So that's how I learned English, not really studying, but living overseas. I am 44 years old. I am in a community area, in a rural area in Brazil, doing a happiness project for a very big community. And I'm living here for this entire month with my family. I married with Manu. She's the base that sustains my life and the light being that guides my directions. And she, crazily enough, she supports all my crazy decisions. We do have 3 kids, João, Antonio, and Joaquim. People say that when I left the corporate environment and when I left law, which is my initial background, I was a legal director of a major company in Brazil. They say that when I left the corporate environment and went to live in the countryside in a very small farm in the middle of the rainforest in Brazil with my wife, they say I was without internet and TV for too long because my kids, they are 3, 5, and 6. So they came one after the other. And my house, as you can imagine, was a lunatic house during the pandemic, the homeschooling with these kids and all the craziness that we all had to suffer, which was an important time for us to understand that even though we somehow lead the life of others and our own life leads our lives as well as it did during COVID. We had to be home and we all had to suffer all those difficulties. About 10 years ago, I left the corporate environment, not knowing where I was going, but knowing, as pretty much as Sheila was saying, knowing that the way I was heading wasn't enough. I had reached, in a very young age, everything everybody thought that I should have reached. I was a legal director for Latin America in a major company. I had great earnings and I had a salary. I had big bonuses. Everything was great from the outside, but I wasn't feeling that great. Something was missing. I was living in the autopilot 99% of my time, and I was trying to understand why, if I did everything that I was supposed to do to be happy, why wasn't I happy? So I went through a major shift in my life, and I decided to quit the job, found about positive psychology pretty much in the same way that many of you did. And I had the luck and the pleasure to do my first course. I did this certificate back in the day when Maria Siroa, Tal Ben-Shahar, and Megan taught this course together. And I remember that I went to Kripalu, which is a yoga retreat close to Boston. I went there twice for the immersions, and it was just fabulous. And from the first day of the first immersion, I went to Tal and to Megan and say, you know, I want to bring this course to Brazil. I need to translate this course and bring to Brazil. But you know what? Back in that day, what I wanted to do, since I had left the corporate environment, what I wanted to do was to have another job, have another business that would bring me money and would make my friends look at me and not think me as crazy as they did. You know, now Henrique is not more the executive. Now he's the owner of a big company and he's making money. So that was what I was thinking back in the day. And I think Megan and Tal realized that, and they kept me on hold for many years before they authorized me to bring the course to Brazil. Actually, I decided in 2016 to do a master's degree in positive psychology. So I went to the University of East London, probably pretty close to where Marion is now. And I did a 3 years master's degree in positive psychology. And it was funny because I needed an introductory letter from professors. And I invited Megan, Tauben Shahar, and Maria Sirra to, if they could, give me a reference letter to the university. All three of them did. And when I got in the university, I replied to them and said, you know, thank you so much. I've been admitted to a psychology university, even though I am from the legal background. So I think your letters had a very positive impact on my application. And then Megan replied to me, oh, thank you. Congratulations. Beautiful. Do you want to translate the course now? So I think they were expecting to see where I was heading. And in 2019, I had the privilege and the honor to translate the 9 months of this certificate to Portuguese. I have been teaching as a main faculty in Brazil since 2019. We are running our 7th cohort now this year. So I've been teaching with Maria Sirra, with Megan. I did some live events with Tauben Shahar and great names in positive psychology. We now started this course as well in Portugal and hoping to translate to Spanish as soon as possible too. And I've been working as I never did before, but doing something that I really love and admire. And I'm here because in Ubiquity, I'm going to be holding the student experience with all of you. So most of the lectures will be recorded lectures from Megan, from Maria, from Tao, from Linda Wallace, but I'm going to be participating in most of the live events and the immersions as well. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, and I hope we can see each other for 9 months if you decide to participate in the course. Again, if you have any questions or insights or anything you want to bring to this conversation, don't think twice about it. Just open your microphone and let's have this open conversation. But to start, I always love to start with this question. What is our biggest dream in life? What is the dream that all of us always had, have now, and always will have? If we have children and grandchildren, what is the only dream we have for them? And the funny thing is that I ask this question all the times. And I remember one keynote presentation I was giving to a university. I remember one engineer raised his hand and say, oh, you know, my biggest dream is to buy a big, beautiful house with glass windows in front of the beach. You know, those houses right on the sand. And before I did the study of positive psychology, I immersed myself a lot on understanding and learning the art of coaching and the science behind coaching. My master's degree is about positive psychology and the psychology of coaching too. So as a coach, I love to ask questions. So I asked this guy, oh, beautiful, you want to have a house in the beach. When you finally have this beautiful, perfect house that you're dreaming right now, what is going to change in your life? Oh, he told me that, wow, I'm going to have more time with my family. I'm going to be able to travel every weekend. I'm going to have more leisure time with my family. As a coach, I do love to ask questions. So I kept on asking, beautiful, when you have this house, more time with your family, traveling every weekend, what is really going to change in your life? He started to get a little bit annoyed with me, but he said, well, I'm going to be more at peace. I'm going to be able to walk on the sand and seeing the sunrise. Imagine that in my life every day. And then I asked him again, coaches sometimes can be a pain. So beautiful, when you are walking on the beach and seeing the sun rising on the ocean, what is really going to change in your life? And eventually, he told me, well, when I have all of this, okay, I'm going to give you that. When I have all of this, I'm going to be happier. And I guarantee you, I can ask any question after that, that there's going to be no other answer. As a father of 3 kids, of course, I want my kids to have good careers, good jobs, to love what they do. I want them to have beautiful families, and hopefully they're going to give me many grandchildren, not because they're going to be happier, but because I for sure will. But why do I want all of these things to them? Because somehow I believe that when they have all of this, when they build a life around that, they're going to be happier. Do you agree with me that that's our main goal? That's what we want in life. We want to have that feeling that we're living life to its fullest potential. We want to have great relationships. We want to feel well in what we do. And we are living at the moment, as Sherry said, we're living a very, very big, I think the biggest global problem of mental health in work, and not just in work. So we are finding that the way we are living our lives in the autopilot, just producing and doing, we are not just destroying the planet, but we are somehow not getting to the point where I'm living the happy life I wish. Does it make sense to you? I like to compare, I don't know if you guys ever played this board game. There's a board game called The Game of Life. You throw the dice and then you walk with a little car and you hit some point that you get married, and then you get divorced, and then you get kids, and then you win the lottery, you lose everything. I think most of us sometimes in our lives start living this game. We don't know why we're playing anymore. We don't remember the rules. We don't know where we're heading. We just keep on playing because we believe that once I get there, then I'm going to be happy. And then we get to these points in life, we feel happy for a while, and then we come back to the same questions and the same way of living. And positive psychology is a science for those that don't know what positive psychology is. It's nothing more than psychology with a bad name. Because when you say that there is a positive psychology, you give the impression that there was a negative psychology before, and that makes absolutely no sense at all. Even Martin Seligman, the founder of this science, he told that he was not very lucky with the name he chose, because positive psychology is just psychology, with the difference that the questions we ask is different. Psychology, and I think Aida told us a little bit of that, psychology for most part of its history has been interested in understand everything that goes wrong with humanity, organizations, with couples, with people. Why kids have trouble to learn, why couples don't stay together, why do we feel trauma, why do we have depression, which is very important, very good. Thankfully, we now have a science that understands what depression is and can help us to come back to normality again. But what Martin Seligman, Chris Peterson, and the founders of positive psychology realized is that not being sick is not the same of flourishing. I might not be feeling depressed, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be living the full potential of my life. I might not get a divorce with Manu, but I might not be having a beautiful relationship with her. So what they proposed back in 1998, and now positive psychology is one of the sciences that grow fastest in the world, and it's on every area of society, is that if we want to live the full potential for a better life, we need to study with the eyes of science, with the rigorous academic way that science does, the experience that are way up there. So I know what people feeling depression do. I know what couples that gets a divorce do, and I have some therapy that helps them stay together. But what happened to those kids in very poor schools with not a very good qualification? Why do they learn so fast? Some of them learn so fast. Why do people living in a very problematic areas, in poor areas, and living a lot of suffering, why do some of them are so positive? Why are some people so resilient, even though they are living the same trauma, that other people are. Why are some couples live so well together? And I have to bring, to acknowledge and to honor the history of my grandparents, Vô Jaime and Vó Maga, 70 years together. They were the only boyfriend and girlfriends, the only relationship they had in their entire life. And my granddad, when he was on his 90-something years old, he would wake up in the morning at 4:55 a.m. And I would hear him, I would go to him and say, Grandpa, why are you awake so early? It's 4:55 in the morning, it's dark, it's cold outside, go to bed. And he would tell me, I can't. Because Vó Maga, my grandma, she wakes up at 5. And I need to be with her coffee ready, because at 5, we sit on the porch to talk and to have a morning ritual together. When I hear this story, I very instantly know that this is the love story. This is the relationship I want to have with Manu. But if we don't understand what they did or what people in these cases do, how can we learn what we can do as well? Let me give you an exercise, a very simple exercise. Imagine that after this webinar, you decide to sit with a kid, your son, your nephew or grandchildren, and you spend 1 hour teaching this kid 10 ways to build a kite that will not fly. You have all types of paper of different textures and colors and glue and lines. You have everything at his disposal or her disposal. And after 1 hour of a lot of fun and learning, with all the material available, you ask the same kid, now I want you to build a kite that will fly. Will he or she be able to do it? Probably not. He or she may find a way to do it, but not because of what he learned from you. Even though you thought 10 ways of building a kite, he never learned how to build a kite that flies. What positive psychology does is, if I want to understand the potential, the conditions to live everything I can or the best possible life, I need to study with the scientific lens people, communities, groups of people that are living at this high level. I need to study the outliers like my grandpa and grandma to understand what they did, and then create interventions that can help me come away from the normal and go ahead or go forward to the full potential of my life. Does it make sense for you guys? For instance, we have a beautiful book called The Blue Zones. The Blue Zones is a book written with the support of the, don't worry, Sherry, it was beautiful to have you here. And we're gonna have this session recorded. I think we're gonna be able to watch it if you want to continue watch it. On the Blue Zones, with the support of National Geographic, scientists spent 3 years living in 4 communities around the globe where people live centenarians. They live much higher, in a much higher percentage. They live healthy lives and long lives. So what does these communities have in common that I can bring to my community? And that's what I'm doing here in this community, the rural area that I am now. How can I bring what they do as things that we can do here in order for us to have a longer and a more satisfying and happier life and a healthy life? So that is positive psychology. It's a study of the human conditions or the conditions that makes life worth living. How can we get rid of the idea of not being sick and just being normal? And how can we find the potential to live our life as best as we can? Does it make sense to all of you? So before we move forward, I didn't tell anyone from Ubiquity that I would be doing this, but otherwise they would cancel my participation here, but I will. Let me ask you one question, and you guys can open your mics and respond the way you want. How much do you think, in percentage, how much do you think that the circumstances of our lives or the environment we're in, how much do you think that these circumstances impacts our well-being in percentage? Try a number. You can put in the chat, or you can tell us, what do you think about it? Your life circumstances, the place you live, how much does that impact your happiness, your well-being? You can put in the chat or just open your mic. And Maytek has just told us that he will share this recording after we finish. So here we go. 40% is one response. Anyone else?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit. Play with a number. What number would you use, Sheila?
Oh, well, you know, I think in my many years prior, it would be like 80 or 90%. And I'm learning to bring that down.
Beautiful. So initially I would think 80, 90%. I had one client once that told me 110% at least, but now you're learning that there's something to learn about that. Joseph said 50-50, and you, Ima?
I was going to say something. So when I start thinking about my happiest moments, okay, so my happiest moments were when I gave birth to my two boys. Now, the situations were not very good because these were two painful childbirths. So what I think is, it is not the circumstances, it is how you see the situation and what you associate that moment with the long-term dreams that you want to, because for 9 months when I was carrying that baby, that was the hopeful dreaming that every night I would go, I would touch my belly and I would feel good about. So those were the happiest moments.
Beautiful. So what you're saying is, even though through pain, the meaning of that moment gave me happiness. So and that goes really close connected with what Sheila said. You know, most of us, most of the time, believe that the environment, the circumstances of our lives have a great impact in happiness. Or if I had another job, if I lived in front of the beach, or if I found the Prince Charming, then I would be happy. I remember Marion said here that happiness is within ourselves. Beautiful concept. But I remember when I was living in the corporate environment, in the highest part of my career, I used to say to everyone, oh, now that I'm young, now that I have energy, I will work like crazy. I will work a lot without holidays, and I will work 14, 15 hours a day, because one day I'm going to save some money. I'm going to buy a ranch, and then I'm going to be happy. I used to tell this to everyone, and I did that. I saved the money. I not just bought a ranch, but I bought a ranch in the middle of the rainforest in one of the most beautiful cities in the south of Brazil. And I remember I went to the hardware store to negotiate with the owner a payment plan to build my house. And I came to him, his name is Gerson. So I told him, Gerson, I just bought a ranch. Can we make, and I was really loud and happy. Can we discuss a payment plan for the construction of my house? Then he told me, oh, how nice, you just bought a ranch. Do you know that this purchase or this ranch is going to give you 2 joys in life? First, now, because you bought it. I don't know if you know, but then he told me the second one is going to be when you sell it. Probably owner of boats realized that somehow. And I left the hardware store thinking that guy was completely crazy. He was a lunatic. What was he saying? I could just see the birds, the rainforest, the grass. 3 weeks later, I saw birds poop on my porch. I saw the amount of money I had to spend to keep my grass cut. I saw the ants coming inside the house, and now the complication of running wrench. We do believe sometimes, or most of the time in our life, that happiness is associated with getting there. But there's a problem. As psychologists knows, we pass through something called hedonic adaptation. We adapt, we adjust, we get used to things and to people. So anybody in a very long-term relationship, you don't have to raise your hand and tell me anything, but probably if you're in a long-term relationship, the passion when you were dating at the beginning with the love you're living now has changed quite a bit. We adapt to things and people. So we know that the circumstances of our lives, yes, impact our well-being, but much less than we think, except in extreme circumstances. Somebody living in a place with violence, domestic violence, or in a war, of course, the environment is playing a major role, but usually it plays much less than we think, and we get used to it. The second aspect that impacts our well-being is our genetics. Some of us are more extroverts, introverts. Some of us are more prone to positivity, others not that as much. We all know people that complains about everything and people that are happy about everything. So the genetics has a role, has an important role. And the thing is, we cannot change our genetics, at least right now with technology, and it's not that easy to change our circumstances. I might need to stay in that job. I might need to keep that boss. I might need to stay living in the village I live now. So it's not very easy to change your circumstances, and to live our life just expecting to get somewhere, it's a big waste of time. But now we know with science that what we choose to think, our habits of thoughts and our actions or habits plays a major role in our well-being, not just thinking, but acting. But there's a problem here. As human beings, we understand and connect very easily relationships between cause and effect when they happen in a very short period of time. For example, when Ima told her when her kids were born, she associated that moment that happened in a very short time with a major blow of happiness in her life. If we won the lottery, we will understand how the lottery gave a big impact in our well-being. But our choices and our actions, they play a major role over time. The way I choose to eat and to move my body now, the way I choose to be grateful and to acknowledge the positive aspects of other people today, probably won't show as a result today. Or you will show just 1%, you won't even think about it. But after a long time, it changes completely the trajectory of your life. In the words of Annie Dillard, a poet and a writer in the US, she said that the way we pass our days is the way we live our lives. But we tend to ignore that because we are running like crazy to get somewhere, to get a promotion, to get more money. And we don't make the choices we can make this day, right now, in order to change the trajectory. For example, if you're living now in Seattle and you take a flight to Japan, if the pilot for some reason misses the point and he turns the angle of the airplane in 1%, he's going to get in a completely different part of the planet. He's not going to get in Japan. It's the same thing. If we change our actions and behaviors in very small bits and pieces every day, over a long time, we're going to be in a completely different place. But we tend to ignore that. And as I told you, and I didn't tell the guys at Ubiquity, I want to present you guys with a test. Of course, you are doing a course yet, so why is this crazy guy from Brazil giving me a test? But I will bring a test to you guys to show you if you here have or don't have focus. I want to see if you're capable of being very, very focused at something. And that's going to be very important for us to continue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a video to all of you. And please take your phones away, your notepads, or anything that is distracting you, even your coffee, Heather. Don't hold your coffee at the moment. The thing now is, I want you to pay a lot of attention because the video is going to start with a question. Read the question with a lot of attention, and during the video, try to find the answer for that question. And then I'm going to make some queries here to see if you guys did found the answer for that question. Does it make sense? Everything ready? Everybody ready? Okay. So let me see how I'm going to do that. Okay, presentation, share sound. Okay, is everyone seeing my screen? Perfect. So let's see if this group here has focus. Pay attention to the question on the screen. Count how many times the players in white passes the ball amongst themselves. Everybody ready? All right, what I would love you guys to do now is on the chat, just write the number, just the number. How many times did the players in white pass the ball? 14, 14, what else? Just the number. 13, 12, it's a pretty focused group. 12, 14, what else? 13, 10, 9, yeah, we're getting some variation here. You know, sometimes I get between 5 to 37, so it's pretty common for us to have these different numbers. But in this group, you guys are pretty focused. It's between 9 to 14, which is good. Well done. Now I have another question to you. And please just respond on the chat as well. Just with yes or no, don't write anything else. Did any of you saw anything out of place? Anything that was a little bit weird and probably shouldn't be there? Yes, yes, who else? Yes, no, so Heather didn't. Who else? No, no, Adriana did. So people are already saying a gorilla. So those that did not see the gorilla, which is Ima and Diane and Heather and any other that didn't respond, are probably thinking, what? What gorilla? Right, Heather? What gorilla? I was counting the players passing the ball. What is he talking about? So I promise you, I'm going to show you the same video. And now please forget about the balls, forget about the players in white. Your main objective is to focus our attention to find this gorilla. But you know, it's a very small gorilla and he goes very fast on the screen. So please pay a lot of attention. Otherwise, you will miss it again. All right. So let me share my screen one more time. All right. Did anybody didn't see the gorilla at this time, or did everybody saw it? Okay, there was no problem in not seeing the gorilla the first time, but if you didn't see it now, then we gotta talk. We gotta have a conversation. You know what's funny about it? The gorilla is not fast. He goes very slowly. He takes his time. He stops not in the corner, but in the middle of the screen, and he invites us to see him. And some of us here didn't see it. Go ahead, Heather. You can open your mic.
I'm just laughing out loud at the serendipity of this. Literally 24 hours ago yesterday, I was walking into a small conference room for a meeting, and I tripped over a piece of furniture that I didn't see and fell to the floor. Completely embarrassed myself. I got helped back up and I looked at the people I was meeting with saying, oh my goodness, I wonder how many other things I'm not seeing that are right in front of me. So this, like 24 hours later, is like scary, magical serendipity.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's a perfect example you gave. How many times during the day I don't see things? How many times I'm not seeing what is right there? You know, I started using this video in big keynote presentation, like 200 people in an auditorium, live in a very big screen. And sometimes somebody would say, oh, I didn't see the gorilla because I was, you know, there was somebody with a big head in front of me, or I was in the corner of the room, so I couldn't see it. But I have been doing this exercise on the screen. I have been doing this online for the past 2.5 years, and the numbers are the same. About 60 to 70% of people do not see the gorilla. And you are sitting, what, 30, 40 centimeters from the screen, and people don't see it. We do believe, or we expect that when we perceive reality, we perceive the whole of reality. We perceive everything. But the truth is, our brain is so powerful that even though it has only 2% of the body's mass, it consumes between 20 to 25% of our energy, even when we're sleeping. We lose weight when we sleep because our brain doesn't stop operating. It's spending energy all the time. So it has to be very energy efficient. It has some ways to do that. During the certificate, we teach how you can understand how your brain functions. But one of the ways it saves energy is by focusing and bringing to the conscious level only those things that you need. But how does your brain decide where to put its attention? It decides by the question that you make. So when I make the question, how many times does the player in white passes the ball? Your brain saw it all, but he couldn't waste energy bringing a gorilla because a gorilla won't help him to answer the question. He only brings to your consciousness those things that are important to reply to the questions that you make yourself. It may be scary, but some neuroscience research shows that we usually tend to ignore 98% of reality and just bring to your consciousness 2%. How many of you have had major fights with your spouses or with your friends because you are seeing the reality and the other guy looks like crazy because he's seeing something completely different? As Professor Tal Ben-Shahar, one of the main stars in positive psychology and with participation in the certificate, what he says is the questions that we make define our focus. The part of the reality to be searched, which defines by consequence the reality we perceive. Therefore, the way we live our lives. That's why, Sheila, the environment is not that important because, you know, we see people in the same environment we are all the time having completely different perceptions of where they are and what they feel about it. So let me put Tal's question here so you guys can note that. So that's his sentence. The way we perceive reality is somehow more important than reality itself. Things are happening to us all the time. Bad things happen to good people all the time. And some people, for some reason, brings the best out of that, grow and see the best and find ways to live better with those things. So the idea behind positive psychology and the idea behind the certificate course is how we use science to understand that to live a happier life, we need to first understand how our brain works. And we need to understand and learn that little by little, we can change our thinking habits, the way we look at things. We thought before, science thought before, that our brains stopped to develop after our teenage years. Now we know that it's developing all the way until we die. We call this neuroplasticity. We can change literally, that's a hard one. We can change our brains by the things we do and by the way we see things. And some experiments in positive psychology has shown our brains really changing physically over time by the practices that we teach in positive psychology. So we can learn how to focus our attention. And then there's something very important here. The whole plan behind positive psychology is not to start changing our focus to ignore reality and live like Pollyanna. Oh, now everything is beautiful and life is perfect. No. That's the worst thing you can do to live a happier life. What we are teaching in positive psychology is that the way to live a happier life is to throw away the dictatorship of the or and to embrace the and. How can I live reality as is? How can I live my difficulties, the conditions of my life, the expectations that weren't matched, and also open my perspective to see what else is there? And when I do this, when I started to see the whole more often, with more intention and less automaticity, when I start seeing the whole, I become more creative, I become more positive, I become even more capable to deal with the problems I have at hand. When I am just seeing the problems, usually, you guys can tell me that if it's true or not, we start to ruminate the problem. Or if I wear more of this, if I wear more of that, we start to ruminate that, and we don't get out of this process. So the whole idea is, yes, the problem is here, I have to deal with it, and I can still wake up in the morning and be the best father I can to my kids. I can still look at outside and see how beautiful the sun is. I can still be grateful for being alive. Does it make sense? I don't know if I'm going to say your name properly, but Shashu, you raised your hands, you can talk at any time. Just open your mic. I'm here if you want to talk. If anybody has anything to say at this time, I'm right here. Any insights, any questions about anything? Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I was sharing my experience of the happiest moment. My most dreadful fears also come from that same thought. So when I'm deriving my most happiness and joyful moments from my parenting, my worst fears also come from that. Mm-hmm. And that is where, so one moment I'm feeling really happy about something, and then the fear sets in. How do I do that?
Perfect. Excellent question. We talked about this in the first lecture of the certificate in positive psychology. You know what? You know why? Because we do believe that we are a single self. We do believe that this is who I am. And if I ask you who you are, you're going to have a hard time to explain yourself and to come to a reply in a sentence. The truth is that we live a variety of selves in our lives. You know, at any moment, we are our authentic self. We are living who we are right here, right now. We know we have memories of our best selves when we were performing in our best possible ways. All of us have possible selves. So I can imagine myself being a happy granddad, 90 years old, playing with my grandchildren. And I can imagine myself being lacking health when I'm getting old. So we have possible selves that we dream of and possible selves that we dread, we don't want. All of us have also an ideal self. Where would I like to be, or how would I love to live my life? But also, Ima, we have what we call the ought selves, which are those images and voices that keeps telling us that we should be this, we should be that. Those voices can be our own voices, can be from other people, can be from the cultural environment we're in, and they can be positive. Some voices in my head tell me that I should be more courageous. I should be more generous sometimes with my wife. These voices are good. They give me good, the intention behind those voices are good, but usually they bring us down because we keep on, when we leave those voices and don't understand what they are, we blame ourselves, we bring guilt to it. So the whole idea is how we learn, and the 9 months of the certificate bring us pretty much 3 main components that we using science and using different topics. We play with these main concepts through the whole 9 months. Is first, how do I learn to dialogue with these different versions of myself and start to make choices? Second, how do I use the SPIRE module of well-being to live every day a 1 or 2% better life in order to, in 9 months, see the transformation I can achieve? And the third one is, how do I bring more to the present the concept of my ideal self? What can I do now to live today 1% more of the ideal I can have? And one of the problems we face, Iman, and that we learn in the SPIRE module of well-being, is that usually most of us have learned in life that some emotions are bad. You should not feel envy. You as a mother, you should not feel anger about your children. You know, I felt the same way. I remember one day before positive psychology, I remember my kid, I had just bought a new laptop from Apple laptop, which was pretty expensive for Brazilians. I bought that laptop, and my oldest kid, I think he was 2 or 3 years old, he dropped milk on my keyboard. I remember that I felt really, really angry. I hated him at that time. And you know what happened? Because I thought before that I could not, if I am a good father, how can I feel anger or hate from my kid? Because I thought that I shouldn't be feeling that, I also felt what? Guilt. I started blaming myself. And I started ruminating that I'm not mad because my computer is broken. I am a bad father because I'm hating my kid. So the longer we negate or deny our emotions, more we create this rumination cycle of guilt and blame. So during the course and learning the science, we learn how to give ourselves permission to be human. So yes, I felt really angry about what my kid did. I hated him at the moment. And remember the end? I can understand that I just felt all of those things because I'm human. That doesn't make me a bad father. I would be a bad father if I would hit him because of what he did. But when I understand that the emotions are part of life and I accepted it, I can make a choice. First of all, it becomes much more light. I'm just feeling anger. Of course I am. I'm not a machine. And I can choose to have a nice conversation with him, or he's too young even for a conversation. So now I cannot hug him because I'm hating him. But 2 hours from now, I'm going to be in the floor playing with him. So we learn how to navigate this complexity of selves that are dancing in our lives all the time, and to make choices and to accept the reality and make a choice. The idea is not run away from it, and we have to learn how not to be hijacked by this negativity feeling. We have to learn to accept and choose, and that's what we do doing the certificate. That's the plan of this whole course, which is not academic course, you know, where you have tests and you have to pass, but it is a flow of it's a journey of 9 months to learn by experiencing, by sharing, and then to not just inform the science, but to transform your life through the science. Does it make sense?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I like what you said. How do I bring myself to the present? Because the fears are always in future. What would happen? How am I going to handle that? Like you said, in 90 if I'm too sick to be able to play with my grandkids.
Yes.
And thanks for saying that.
You're welcome. And the fears, in another way of thinking, are habits of thoughts. We have learned, even though we know that we have habits physically, but we tend to ignore that we have habits of thoughts. So every time I'm facing some challenges, my brain brings me, oh, don't accept this new challenge because you're not good enough. We have habits. Our brain brings us that because he wants to protect us. We have to learn that we are not our brains. The same way we breathe without thinking and choosing, we think without choosing or asking. Our brain is just a machine. It's thinking all the time. So when those thoughts arises, I'm not good enough, stop, breathe, and ask your brain, oh, thank you so much for this information. Why are you telling me this? Oh, because when I was 7 years old, I heard that from my mom when I tried something new. And that hurted me so much that I am still carrying this. So brain, now that I know that you are a perfect machine for finding answers, I want you to look to my past and find 3 moments when I was extremely good. Not good enough, I was extremely good. And then you mine yourself, your past for the gold, and you will find it. And then you start changing the way you process your thinking. So we have to learn how to get out of the automatic all the time and to really reflect and choose, at least on the most important times, the times that we won't be able to do that all the time, but when possible. Sheila?
Thank you. It's really great to be with everybody and to hear all of the dialogue. Maybe this is for one of the other sessions, but I'm interested in hearing about like how to think about the certificate program, like what will be involved, what will be required of me, like just trying to plan ahead. Is this the right time for me to be signing up? In a nutshell, is where I'm coming from, because things have happened, new things in my life, and I thought, I don't think I can do it after all because of certain personal things going on. So that's kind of what I'm wondering about. And then I heard you went twice live. So if you can speak to that a little bit, that would be wonderful.
Yep. Are you guys okay for me to do that? I'm reached 1 hour of the conversation. Maybe in more 10 minutes, I can give you all this vision. So thank you so much for being with me for a little longer. If you want a master's degree or a post-graduation or formal academic where you're going to read thousands of material to pass a test and to give a presentation at the end of 3 years and be approved, forget it. That's not the course for you. I don't believe in this type of teaching anymore. I did my master's degree, and I confess with you that the change that I lived in my life came from this certificate and not from the master's. We accept everyone that say yes to finding different ways to live their lives, that say yes to their own lives and to a time for themselves. And we are not measuring you if you pass or not, but we know that despite of how you came in, you're going to live different. So that's the only expectation we have. It's not a course designed. I teach in many post-graduations in Brazil, and I get an invitation from the dean of the university to teach about self-development. I don't know the other teachers. I don't know what they're teaching. I just bring one module and say that if my students were approved or not. We are not like this. The entire 9 months, it's a journey. So we will learn in a spiral of growth. So how we learn, go back to the material, share with other people, learn from others in a way that we are much more transforming than informing. So you get a lot of information. You get the certificate that you need if you want to work with positive psychology, as I do. But the whole idea is to learn by practicing, by sharing, in a way that what you learn becomes embodied in how you live. So that's what we do. In the 9 months of the course, 7 months are pre-recorded. So we release 2 lectures a week, short lectures between 15 to 20 minutes. We know that distant learning cannot be those crazy 4 hours every lecture. So they're short, right to the point, and personal. It's not reading a PowerPoint, it's examples from life and from the connection between the science and life. With each lecture, you have one a worksheet to reflect, to work, to do things, to really apply the science in your life, and a whole bunch of resources of new videos and books and scientific articles you can read. If you want to dive deeper on that, you might not. Like in when I did the master's degree, I had to dive deep in everything, and that was crazy. You can choose. Well, I'm learning about resilience now. I want to dive deep on this. I'm learning about positive emotions or permission to be human or meaning. You can dive deep on that. Every month, on top of those recorded lectures, you have 2 meetings, 2 live meetings, which is for us to create network of conversation, for us to learn from one another. So how the application of what you learned impacted you, so you can teach others, and we can talk about this. And we also bring guest lectures, we bring other topics as well. And the whole idea is to make the distant learning something alive. You know, it's not just for you to be in your room, because we know that's a little bit lonesome sometimes. So every month we have 2 interactions, live interactions online. Modules 3 and module 9 are full-on immersions. So we are using the Pacific time as the so you guys know what time it is, but from 9 a.m. to 12, from Monday to Saturday, we are on an immersion. So those 2 times, module 3 and module 9, is where you need to get a leave of absence of your work or do something, because we're going to be full on participating in an experience that it's really, really the most important and an impactful part of the course, because you're going to be really with a group of people and doing exercises and participating. We used to do that live, but now globally we are doing it online, and we had to do that with the pandemic. But the experience is pretty much the same. It's amazing. So we have those 2 immersions, and after the first immersion, or after module 3, amongst yourselves, you will create a small group of 4 to 6 people. We are going to allocate a TA, a mentor, to follow you through the rest of the course. So you're going to have meetings with your small group, conversations, and we call this your choir. This is the group of people that sometimes when I did my course, everybody, even my wife, even though she doesn't tell me that, thought I was crazy. What is this guy studying the science of happiness? He's a lawyer. So I didn't have anyone to talk to here in Brazil about what I was learning and the experience I was having. So we create these small groups. So you have a group of support that will hold your hand when you need support, and we will celebrate when you achieve what you're aspiring. So by doing this, it's an online course, but very alive and very, very rich in interactions. About the hours you should dedicate to the course, I would say that 2 hours a week is enough for you to get the content and to reflect upon the material. When I did the course, because I wanted to bring this as a professional, as a profession, I put much more hours. So I really dove deep in contents that I wanted. But if you do 2 hours, if you want that just for the personal journey and for your transformation, 2 hours a week is what you need to get the lectures, to do the exercise and reflections. That works well. Most of you will dive a little bit deeper depending on the part you're in. The first lecture, what they call the first lecture, is everything starts with a yes. So just you can know if it's time for you to say yes to this journey and to this transformation. After you say this first yes, we're going to help you to say another 1,000 yeses along the way to get where you want. But you need to say this yes. It is my time. Am I ready for this? I had students that, oh, I just gave birth, or I'm facing a difficult time in my work, or the pandemic's here, I have to do homeschooling with my kids. Some of those decided to do it, and the course supported them on those difficult moments. So, and some of them after 3 months said, you know, it's been very difficult for me. So can I hold the course and start with the next cohort? Yeah, we can do that. That's not a big deal. So if you cannot take it. And again, we're going to have a live session with me, a open hour session for Q&As, I think in 2 weeks. So it's going to be on the calendar from Ubiquity. And you can choose, there's a link where you can make an appointment with me and I can explain directly to you, to each one of you, any doubts, any questions you have about the course. Did I respond well to what you needed, Sheila? Good. Before we go, and I just want to say that it was just an extremely joyful moment for me to be with you. Thank you so much for being here and being so kind with my English and my Brazilian way of communication. And I just want to show you guys a last image to show a little bit of what we want to create with this experience of the certificate. Let me show you my screen again. Hold on. I promise that's going to be the last one. I had many things to say, but we're going to have more interactions like that. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
I want you to look at this image. Can you guys see a mountain reflected in a lake? And pretty much how the lake and the mountain are symmetrical, the reflection. Can all of you see this?
Yes.
Now I'm going to make an invitation. I want all of you to turn your left ear to your left shoulder. Left ear, left shoulder, and look at that image again. Did everyone see something different?
Yeah.
The woman. Oh,
The woman and the child.
Woman and the child in a prayer position. Did you
yeah.
guys see that before when I asked you to see the mountains and the lake?
No.
What we want with this course is to show you that the way we look at things, the way we look at life. Somebody saw a crocodile. Oh, awesome. Saw a crocodile too. The way we decide to look at our lives has a major impact. We are not seeing the whole. 99.9% of the time, we're seeing aspects that we choose to see. We don't want you to stop seeing those things because those things are important, but we want you to show that if you tilt your left ear to your left shoulder, you might see something new. You might see the same thing in a whole new perspective. And this new perspective gives you more options to choose and to act and to live your life differently. It would be a pleasure, it would be a joy and an honor to have you as part of this next cohort or any cohort. And if you're not ready, if it's not your time, it's also fine. If you need anything from us, from the team of Ubiquity and from myself, I'm available anytime. I'm going to give you guys here on the chat the link if you want to learn more about the course. That's the link. And if you want, with technology now, I'm learning so much that I created also a QR code. So if you take a photo with your mobile phone of this code, you're going to go to the same link I sent you. So you can see everything there. Any questions you might have, just reach me and I'll be here. And I would love to talk to you in private or in a group session anytime. Next week, please don't miss the conversation you're going to have with Megan McDonald. Megan McDonald is the founder of Wholebeing Institute, and she created, designed the course with Tal Ben-Shahar. So it's going to be a lovely opportunity for you to go deeper and to understand the entire course and positive psychology from her perspective. And we're going to have more sessions throughout the months until we start in September. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I came. I want to learn how to say yes.
Take your time.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you very
thank you all.
much. Thank you.
Have
Bye.
a great weekend.
Bye.
I will come back next week, but I don't think I can do the immersions. Thank you.
Let's talk. Try to make an appointment with me because, you know, we might find ways to organize that. We decided on the timetable of the immersions thinking in a way that would be easier to everyone, but we still don't know where the students are coming from. So depending on the group of students, if they all come from locations that are close, we might be able to get a time zone that is best to everyone. So don't say no yet. Let's talk.
You did great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Igor.
Guys, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.